Florida's Women in Energy Leadership Forum was launched to inform, inspire, motivate diverse talent to join the energy workforce by intentional recognition of current female energy leaders who contribute to growing Florida's economy and the purposeful sharing of their professional journeys. We are creating opportunity. Join me each week as we meet new leaders in energy and listen to their important roles in an industry that is vital to the country's future. Welcome to our viewers and our listeners. I'm Lila Jaber, and this is the Florida's Women in Energy Leadership Forum YouTube, Facebook Live interview. And today I'm just really excited to introduce Robin Bleier and Michelle Cavallo on today's show. We're going to learn about their two organizations and how they collaborate related to growing the opportunities for small and medium businesses in the state. It's an interesting partnership. I really want to drill down and understand how these two ladies work together and how it benefits the state. Enjoy the show, but please do ask your questions in the chat box. Don't hesitate. We're going to be together here almost an hour, and there's a lot to talk about. So let's dive right in. Michelle, how about you introduce yourself?
Sure. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Michelle Cavallo. I've been in the energy industry for almost 32 years. I started with Duke Energy's predecessor company, Florida Power Corporation, in 1989. And today my title is Director of Customer Experience and Engagement. So in addition to looking out for the 80,000 small and medium business customers that Duke Energy has a pleasure of serving every day, my role was expanded recently where I have oversight for the strategy to make sure that we're meeting the needs of all the customers in Florida that we serve, looking at their experiences, how we engage with them, just to make sure that we're meeting their needs.
And Robin, so people have to be wondering, you've got a healthcare person on this show, but it just goes to show you the energy industry intersects with all industry clusters that create jobs. And you're a perfect example of that. Welcome, Robin.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
So, Robin, tell us what you do.
So I work for a company which I own and operate called RB Health Partners. We are a long-term care consulting company. We serve the assisted living and the skilled nursing facility and the multiple level of care industry throughout the nation. I'm based here in Pinellas County, or Tampa Bay, if you will, but we have consultants that live around the country. And as I'm nestled here in Pinellas County myself, I do take an interest in what's going on in our individual county as well.
It's wonderful. So let's ask that question. How is it you two know each other?
Well, I'll start with that. I had the pleasure of meeting Robin in a very stressful situation, to be honest. So if we can all think back to Hurricane Irma, and it was one of those hurricanes, they're all different. This one was very devastating, and it really impacted almost all of Florida. And when we have a hurricane, Duke Energy has a presence at all the county emergency operating centers as well as the state emergency operating center. And so we have a desk there for utilities. And Robin will tell her side of that story, but she was there representing the healthcare industry. And, it quickly came to light, emergencies and restoration priorities happen kind of minute by minute. And it was Robin coming over to my desk and saying, I've got some nursing homes and we need your help. And it was, we sat
nursing homes that were without power for a bit, right, Michelle?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yeah.
And Robin, you quickly identified that your counterpart there at the Emergency Operations Center could certainly be in a position to help get service restored as soon as possible.
Absolutely. So I was staffed over at what's called the ESF 8 desk, which is Health and Human Services. And so I worked with it all through with the Department of Health and with the staff member from the EOC, the Emergency Operations Center. And my focus was assisted living and skilled nursing facility. We have 77 skilled nursing facilities in Pinellas County and about 350 assisted livings, and they come in all shapes and sizes. So they're kind of a unique group because they might have 2, 3, 4, 5 people living in them, or they might have 105 or 205 people living in them. So they're very unique. And the type of care that's being provided in both the skilled nursing facility and the assisted living is a lot different than most people think. We have people, for instance, in our county, we have a facility that has people that are ventilator dependent. We have people that have tracheostomies. We have people that have ongoing intravenous feeding. We have people that are on specialty mattresses that require continuous electricity so that they can be blown up, if you will. So we have a very unique group of people that we take care of. And even in assisted living, years and years ago, in assisted living kind of would be thought of as an old folks home, if you will. But even there, you have people that need oxygen continuously. They might self-manage a feeding tube and have a pump that they need. They might have some specialty device that needs constant electricity to run. So while I provide healthcare consultation at the organization level and regulatory level, the fact of the matter is that the people that live there are so dependent on electricity. So when you think about what can you do without and for how long, you can't go without electricity for very long. Typically, this happens during the summer, and the summer is, as you know, very hot here in Florida, and particularly in this area. So there's only a certain amount of time that people can be that uncomfortable. There's only a certain amount of time that medications that are required to be refrigerated can go unrefrigerated. So energy is critical. And so I was delighted when I met Michelle, because while I was sitting there helping, because I'm a member of the ROC group for Pinellas County, I also have a double hat, and that I also am on the Florida Healthcare Association Emergency Preparedness Committee. I actually chaired that for 12 years and am now not the chair, but I'm still on that committee. Mm-hmm. And so one of the challenges was that we had people from other counties that were still served by Duke calling me. So I was able to sit down with Michelle and kind of go over individual needs.
Do you both find that, I'm sure you already respected each other's industry, just because you're both from a regulated industry, and you must know the pressures and the stresses that come from that. But on a personal level, on the most personal level, I have to believe that your collaboration in this regard has given you a greater appreciation for the importance of the other industry. Michelle, I'll start with you. I mean, certainly the energy industry, I remember this from my years on the PSC. We've always known that our first priority, obviously, is going to be to the medically essential community. But when you're up close and personal like that in crisis management, there has to be a greater level of appreciation for the severity of what we're talking about. And then I'm going to guess enabling you to better translate for your team and the utility about what you've got to resolve quickly there in that emergency situation.
Lila, you said it perfectly. I mean, there is no better, training than, again, we always knew that nursing home and critical care customers would be top of mind during, they're top of mind really every day, but certainly during an emergency. But it was during that time, and really sitting side by side with Robin, 12 or more hours every day, and realizing just the impact and the severity and really the downward pressure from that, right? So if we can't help them in the facility they're in, we're in crisis, the county's in crisis, how do we get help to them? I remember, Robin, we were directing refrigerated, like trucks with air conditioning, just so I think your listeners probably generally understand when a hurricane hits. I mean, every hurricane is different, and I could make it a priority to get your facility up. But let's say the backbone that feeds the community, the transmission infrastructure is down, for example. Even if I have the line to your facility up and running, if the backbone isn't there, it's going to take a little bit longer. So every hurricane is different. And in this situation, just having that collaboration. So Robin knew where to send her, her assets, her refrigerator trucks, maybe not, but just with air conditioning. So we had some critical customers that needed to be cooled, and whatnot, delivering ice to facilities. So yes, and it did in turn allow me to go back to, after every storm, you look at lessons learned and really, and we'll speak about this, I think, a little bit later in the program, but really, think a little bit more differently about our critical care and how we respond, and working with our state and local EOCs on, a priority structure. So really proud of where we've come, and I do credit it to that hurricane and sitting next to Robin, and really, she really opened our eyes.
That's good.
To the need. Yeah.
And Robin, you agree with that as it relates to energy, that it's not just a matter of, pushing some secret button behind that closed door, right? Just all of the things that go into making sure that there's reliable service when people need it most.
Absolutely. My first storm was in 1985 in this county, Hurricane Elena. And then I was intimately aware of and experienced Hurricane George when I worked in the Florida Keys. And it would be fun to say that there would be a switch. And I think that a lot of consumers think there is a switch, but unfortunately the switch has to be attached to something, and that something has to function.
Yes.
So
yes,
that definitely was an eye-opening experience when you really saw the infrastructure and of what process had to be evaluated to check and make sure that it was safe to turn it on, if you will, because the other thing is you don't want to have a fire. You don't want to cause another disaster within a disaster.
That's right. That's right. It's interesting to me, the deep relationships that form in times of crisis management, right? And I call it crisis management, but you both know, as I do, that it's really all hands on deck, and management is how we reflect on it after the fact. But at the time, it's just getting it done, whatever it takes. So I don't know that management's the right word, but it certainly brings people together in a very intimate way, and you form lifelong friendships, I would guess. So my question to you is twofold. One, has that given you an opportunity to work together on behalf of your industries even more outside of that emergency operations center example? And then what has it meant for you two in terms of forming a leadership friendship beyond the work that you do?
Well, I'll start with that. I think the world of Robin, and your instincts are right, Lila. We have formed a friendship outside of work. So I'll credit her with a couple of things. One is she very quickly helped me, Duke Energy, understand the value of the Florida Healthcare Association and their Emergency Preparedness Committee. And we joined immediately. And proud to say I've been on that committee with Robin now for 4 years. And I have to give FHCA great credit for always advocating for their members. And my peer utilities are also on this committee. I have a great relationship with folks at Florida Power and Light, for example, in TECO, and we share the same passion, really, making sure that we are balancing, hurricane restoration and the needs of critical care customers. So I joined FHCA because of Robin, and then, back then my role was really focused on small and medium business customers, and I wanted to put together an advisory council because in my role I have 80,000 small and medium business customers. And I really needed to tap into voice of customer, and I wanted that to be an intimate conversation. So I set up an advisory council, and I wanted a representative from every segment that we serve, our big segment: healthcare, retail, tourism, manufacturing, finance. And Robin joined as my healthcare member, and she's been on my advisory council for 4 years. And so, yeah, it has led to a good, very professional relationship, but I'd say personal as well.
Good. Robin, I'm going to guess Michelle is all right? She's okay.
She's all that and a bag of chips, I tell you. It's been a great opportunity.
Go. That's wonderful. And so we've got our first question from an audience member. The question is, are you doing now what you thought you would be doing when you graduated from college? Robin?
No. No, not at all. I should say sort of no. I knew I was going to be in healthcare from the time I was about 12. I didn't know exactly how I would do that. And so I'm a little bit learning disabled, so I kind of took it slowly. I was a CNA, and then I became a licensed practical nurse, and then I got confidence and I went back to school and I got my RN, and then I went back and I became a risk manager. And somehow through some employment opportunities, education, and training, I became ultimately a regional nurse and a chief operating officer of a healthcare company, and now I own my own company. But I'm definitely the poster child of you can grow and be whoever you want to be. You just have to put your mind to it.
Absolutely. Thank you. You've anticipated my next question too. I was going to ask you about your career path, but you are an example of you don't have to know exactly what you're going to do next, but you can also, you should, I personally think we all should remain flexible and let that career path lead us through a journey of ultimately where you wind up, which is sounds like that's what has happened to you. I have to follow up with, do you have any regrets?
No, my parents always told me you need to think about what you want to do in terms of how you want to accomplish your personal mission. My personal mission had always been about helping other people. My older brother is disabled. I grew up in Easter Seal, so I watched people getting help. I'm actually surprised I didn't become a therapist because I think I spent more time on a gym mat than anywhere else in my younger years. But my goal was always to help people, and I just had to find ways that spoke to me to do that. And my parents just always encouraged me to do that. And so now I encourage others to do the same. And you just have to pick what speaks to your passion so that you can inspire yourself. And really, if you're doing what you love, then the people around you inspire you and you don't feel like such a drudgery to go to work.
Right. Robin, I have a feeling you inspire others just as much as you're inspired. Yeah.
I hope so.
Michelle, so are you doing what you thought you'd be doing after you graduated college?
I am not. I will tell you. So I got my bachelor's from Florida State. And
go Knowles, go Knowles.
Go Knowles, yeah. And it's in management, and my parents owned a restaurant. My grandmother owned a restaurant, my parents owned a restaurant. I fully thought I was going to go into hospitality. It just seemed like a natural progression for me. And I did for just a short time. And then I got my real estate license. I have a family member who's been very successful in real estate, and she just felt at the time, you figure I graduated college in '87, so she was very, it just encouraged me to go into real estate. She thought it was a good place for women at the time. And through that license, I got a job with Talquin Development, which was the real estate division of Florida Power Corporation. So that was my entree really into the utility industry. I've always loved serving customers. I love, that part of the job, but what I'll tell you is the energy industry is fascinating. So I think a lot of people think, oh, energy engineers, technical, and there are a lot of very beautifully brilliant engineers and technical folks. But in the 32 years I've been there, I've been able to reinvent myself. I've been in public affairs, working up in Tallahassee on, policy issues. I've worked in economic development. I've worked in customer service, and today I'm working more on the strategy side. So what I would say is it's really endless. And instead of having to leave the industry to kind of continue to pursue a passion, it really provides an opportunity. Whatever you'd like to do, there's really an opportunity for you here in the energy industry.
Yeah, this is sort of a drop the microphone moment you've created, Michelle. You've really just summarized the whole purpose of Florida's Women in Energy Leadership Forum, which is to highlight the different places that women and minorities can work in the energy industry. That while I think linemen are the heroes of the industry and
absolutely.
Very much first responders, but the reality is there's so many careers, high wage, sustainable jobs in the energy industry. And I think you just highlighted 4 or 5 right there as an example of you working in all of those areas and being flexible to move within the geography of your service territory as well.
I always say this industry has been very good to me and my family. I mean, it gets very personal. I have had a beautiful ride. And, I've got my master's degree through our, education reimbursement program. And I've been able to come to your seminars. I mean, they're constantly, it's not just Duke Energy, it's an industry thing. They want to grow and develop their employees. They want you to be your best. They want you to find your passion. So I feel very fortunate.
Yeah, and so I'd be remiss if I didn't acknowledge Duke's sponsorship of this podcast today, but also the diverse leadership you have
Yes.
In your company. The chairman and CEO of Duke Energy is Lynn Good.
Yes.
And your president, Duke Energy Florida, Miss Melissa Seixas. And it's it's not uncommon now, but certainly when I started the forum in 2015, we can't say that this was the lay of the land in terms of women in energy in leadership positions. But Florida is certainly leading the way now, and it makes us all proud. And it just shows that there are plenty of opportunities for high wage, sustainable jobs in a diverse workforce. So kudos to you, to your company, and to your leadership. So we have another question from the audience, and we typically get this question. I'm not surprised. It's, what are your responses to how you've been able to manage your job with a lot of hours and balancing a family life?
Yeah, so I think that's a really fair question, and I'll speak just for me, and I'll speak from my experience at my company at Duke Energy. I would say first, from a company perspective, they have always been very supportive of work-life balance, and it can be a bit of a tagline, the work-life balance, but in my company anyway, it's something that we live. I don't have any children of my own, but I have lots of nieces and nephews and a really big family and a wonderful husband and dogs. And I'm able to do it all. And honestly, my best advice would be make sure, don't let it be a tagline in your life. Please make sure that you do find time to fill up on the things that are important to you. For my husband and I, that's travel and live music. So can you imagine how this last year has been for us?
Yeah, no, I can. Can't we all, right? Can't we all?
Right. So, but whatever it is, whatever your passion is, and I watch I'll speak of Melissa Seixas, who I adore, and am proud. I'm so proud. I think she's remarkable. So, she's a mom too. And I've watched her, balance that, and this company has allowed her to rise to the very top. She's president of Duke Energy Florida, and she's a mom, and she's able to do both and do them very well.
Yeah, we're so proud of her, and we don't want to make it sound, right, Michelle? We don't want to make it sound like she's a professional working woman, very, very busy. Oh, and she's a mom. It's just an example of, if you have a sincere desire and I always say fire in your belly, a fire in your belly for what you do professionally, that you don't look at it as just a job, but life's work. Some priorities are going to change on an hour by hour basis. My response has always been, I don't know that I necessarily think there's such a thing as work-life balance. It's just priorities on any given moment of any given day. I heard someone speak to this recently, the author of the book Unapologetically Ambitious, and she said there's no such thing as work-life balance. There's work-life integration. And as I say that to the two of you, I'm about to embarrass my 17-year-old daughter. As I say that to the two of you, we're on this live program, and my 17-year-old daughter is right here in the conference room rolling her eyes at me, right? But that's, work-life integration, right? And of course, any of my family listening on today's show, they're like going, yep, she's rolling her eyes at her mom right now. Robin, I mean, how do you approach this question?
Well, I think that work-life balance is a phrase, like you say, a tagline, but I think it's really about give and take.
Mm-hmm.
So at my company, a lot of the people that work at my company, we had former corporate jobs or directors of nursing or corporate directors of risk management, or I have directors of epidemiology. And there's, in the middle of a crisis, you all do what you have to do, roll up your sleeves and get through it. But on a day-to-day basis, I try very diligently for work-life balance. Even my salary paid employees, I don't believe in people working significant hours over 40 uncompensated. I don't feel that's fair. I think that that's an opportunity to have peonage violation. I think people need to be paid for their time and people need to have time off. It's how you regenerate. I myself take time off. I have another person in my company who's excellent and she takes call for me and I feel confident in her abilities. And while, I've been a nurse for 40 years, so you kind of get used to not having a lot of time off, and we work shift work. So we're used to working when other people are home having Christmas or Thanksgiving, and we're working. But what we have to remember is we have to take other times off to balance that out so that we can go do something that's fun and meaningful to ourselves. If you're exhausted, you're no good to anybody.
Right.
So that's what people, and there are times that, I remember when I was an LPN going back to school to RN and juggling marriage and everything else, I was exhausted, but I knew it was for a period of time and I would get through it. But
Right.
Still, I had to make a time to have an occasional break. And if you don't take care of yourself, you will fall short of taking care of others.
That's so well said. So well said. So let's switch gears a little bit. Hopefully we're nearing the other side of COVID, but we'd be, remiss if we didn't talk about how COVID has impacted your work in each of your organizations, and how did it impact the work you had to do collectively in the most recent storm season, right? So Michelle, obviously the energy industry was impacted by COVID-19. Do you want to talk about that a bit?
Yeah, so it's been a devastating year. It's been devastating on many levels. And I will tell you, last March when this happened, one of the first things that Duke Energy did was say, let's just not disconnect anyone for non-pay. Like, let's take that stress away for everyone. Residential, business, we didn't care. We went, several months into this to let everyone just get their head around their life being, kind of put on hold. People weren't working. They didn't, we didn't know what tomorrow. It's easy to look back now, but boy, at the moment it was crisis mode. Really proud of the company. It was a quick decision. I think we were one of the first utilities to make that decision. Every utility made it. So it was the right decision. And then we knew at some point late last year, we had to people were just starting to get back to work. And there was a lot of stimulus money coming in, earmarked for utility payments. And so, we worked really closely with the state leadership to say, is it time to get back to some sort of standard billing, just back to regular practices? But we spent a lot of time trying to figure out, because we knew there was still going to be a large vulnerable population who still couldn't pay their bills. So we didn't want anyone to, we wanted to put policies in place that would help them. So we put, extended payment plans together, no money down. You could extend it out 12 months if you needed to. Really thought long and hard about the right types of policy to put in place to help people kind of bridge them back to whatever the new normal would look like. And we're still in that place. We still have extended payment arrangements. The other thing that I'm really proud about is we really have expanded the way we look at this vulnerable customer population. Sadly, COVID gave us a lot of folks who, for the first time in their lives, were finding themselves without an ability to pay their electric bill, something so fundamental, but everyone needed it. And even though there were a lot of dollars out there, there was local agencies like LIHEAP agencies and other wonderful social service agencies. A lot of these folks had really never navigated those waters. So that was another avenue we went down very, deep, getting to know all the agencies, really understanding they were overwhelmed with requests. How can we get the information into people's hands where they know where to go locally to find resources? And how, from Duke Energy standpoint, are we making sure that that's a really simple process? How we break down all the barriers? What technology? We stood up an agency portal right away and just really dove right in to that space to make sure that For
And
lots
that's going,
of
and
to get
Michelle, I'm
back.
sorry to interrupt you, but
No.
that's really a wonderful example, I think, of also your new role and your new title. It's not intuitive to any of us, right? To anyone outside the industry, that customer experience means you've sort of gone over and above just making sure the quality of electric service that people are receiving will be sufficient. I mean, what you're describing, removing the stress from a customer who has found herself and himself in a situation of great stress when the whole country is sort of reeling from this pandemic, to help them navigate an agency that will allow them to pay their bills is really going over and above, I think. And I don't know that people fully understand that it's not something you had to do, but it is part of making sure the community is taken care of, the customer experience is appreciated, and part of what you do, I think, within the community.
Yeah, thank you for recognizing that. For sure, that is exactly where we were, and women were impacted greater than most because a lot of women immediately became, teachers in their own home.
Right.
They had children home from school.
Right.
Caretakers, we've, inherently been the caretaker. But women, there's been some studies that we were disproportionately impacted during COVID. Another thing, and this is another wonderful thing we did, that we did some soft skills training. So, we have call centers, right? So that's the inbound when you first contact us. Sometimes that's your only link to us, right? We have a wonderful, we call them customer care. It's a fantastic organization. But we spent some time because we knew during this time when people called in, we trained them to kind of listen for stresses that maybe they hadn't heard before, and so we set up kind of a back end team. So let's get them off the main, kind of that main inbound call, and get them to a team that can really just spend some time with them, help them find resources in the community. We stood that up very quickly. Really proud of that kind of thinking about. This has been a year. I think we're going to all look at our lives kind of pre-pandemic and post-pandemic.
Yeah, absolutely. And Robin, coming from the healthcare industry, you hearing that, I'm sure, is also music to your ears, because you've got yet another entity that's listening out for things that, not that the energy industry should be in the mental health care space, but helping people get resources is something everyone should do, right? I don't know that you have to have a job title for that.
I think it's part of being good citizens and providing support to the community. I would like to say that Michelle has really moved into probably one of her, and not that she may not have other roles within Duke Energy, but probably one of the most perfect roles for her as I've learned her, because she is such a caring and compassionate person. And I would be shocked that she didn't have a hand in some of the development of those practices, or in the bracing of those practices. The pandemic has been an unusual period. For me, it was really weird. I got remarried on March 1st. And then, as you know, everything went crazy.
then the pandemic was announced, right?
And then it went kind of crazy. So I was very proud of what Duke Energy did. She's right. A lot of the other energy companies stepped up to the plate and did a lot of other things. I have a relationship with another energy company, and I thought they did some amazing things also. And another industry that I found very helpful was a lot of the banks. Even though they were closed, they had a lot of conversations with their participants that come and bank there, their customers, and people were really using that 211 opportunity, that community number that's available to find resources. And almost you'd hear conversations daily of someone saying, so-and-so's not doing very well. They have this problem. Does anyone know? I noticed Facebook would be where people say, so-and-so is having a particular problem. Can anyone help? And then I would see somebody send an answer. And it was really rewarding to see that people really wanted to help people.
Come together, right? Absolutely.
It really was.
Absolutely.
I mean, as a healthcare worker, we're kind of used to, there's a problem, we run to the problem, not away from the problem. So many of us worked in nursing homes and ALFs throughout the entire pandemic. So, and you have to have a lot of sympathy for the staff that directly work there, because they really are healthcare heroes. I have to say, if you don't think they are, put a mask on your face for 8 hours and tell me how you feel.
Well, at least 8 hours, right?
At least, not to mention a pair of goggles.
Yes.
And then, of course, be lifting heavy things and be sweating, and then tell me how you feel.
Yeah, especially in the nursing home, adult living space where the patients weren't able to have visitors and family, couldn't communicate with them outside of social media or FaceTime, whatever the technology, their favorite technology was. And so then your healthcare team member was also the extension to the family, right?
And it's still going on to some degree.
Oh, I'm sure.
CMS has released some of the visitation rules, but if a facility is an outbreak, for instance, which CDC defines as one case, so once they're an outbreak, then they have to reevaluate how they're doing that visitation, and it's very difficult. One of the contracts that my company had during COVID was with a particular county where we actually helped them to do some of their COVID-19 visits, and we went in a 3-month period. The last 3 months of December, we were in 100 facilities between ALFs and nursing homes, and I personally did about 40 of them. And it was heartbreaking. And to be on a secured memory unit, for instance,
right.
It was difficult. I remember talking to a family member about Thanksgiving in November of 2020, and she was a lovely person, and she just wanted to take her sister. She was in her 90s. Her sister was almost 100, and she just wanted to take her home for Thanksgiving. They'd had Thanksgiving together forever ever since all their family members died. And so finally I said, how about this? What if we give you Thanksgiving dinner? You two sit outside, sit more than 6 feet apart, and you can see each other. And why don't we do that? And I said, here's the real truth. It's Thanksgiving. Your sister actually doesn't.
Yeah.
Because she doesn't understand that it's Thanksgiving. Her cognition of such, she doesn't actually know it's a holiday.
Right.
It's worse for you than it is for her. How can we help you? And so I saw a lot of that going on. So I commend what Duke Energy did, because that was outstanding. But I was really proud of our county. I saw so many people do the right thing. And that's really what it's all about, is that when we're in stress, is about doing the right thing.
Right. Absolutely. Oh, you both, how inspiring. You both are just phenomenal. So you know what else you have in common, the two of you? You are coming from and working in a STEM-related career. And as you know, some of our viewership are the students from your neighboring colleges and universities, and frankly, some of the high schools as well. And as we think about continuing to promote STEM education, we are always reminded that for whatever reason, we don't see increasing numbers in young girls pursuing STEM-related education. So I'll ask each of you, what are the things we can do in that regard? I mean, I certainly hope this is one avenue where, I say to a Michelle Cavallo and a Robin Bleier, this is STEM-related work right here. It's not that you have to be the electrical engineer or the mechanical engineer or the chemical engineer. It's science, technology, engineering, and math, right? So but that's just my little way. It's a very small way. What else can we be doing?
Yeah, I think it's a great question. And, I know Duke Energy has invested in STEM education. Hopefully some of your listeners today have received some of those, grants or opportunities. I will say from my experience, it's really exposure early on. So, maybe there's opportunities to get out in the community more often and really show the benefits of these, careers in STEM. I know Duke Energy just partnered with St. Pete College to do a lineman certification course, which we're really proud about. So I think that, finding partnerships and opportunities to, get in the schools and really show the opportunities. I'm not sure everyone knows what STEM is or, exactly what is a STEM job. So I just think we need to do a better job of really connecting the work that I do to somebody who might be thinking about, a career, you're right, it is STEM related. So, yeah, I just think we have an opportunity really just to, paint the picture really.
Thank you, Michelle. Robin, what do you think?
I think that it's important, A, make sure people know what STEM is, of course, but B, also make sure that they know what their individual opportunities are. And also for a variety of reasons, particularly women or men who might be the primary caregiver or a person who has some other obstacles that are making it difficult for them, that there's always a step process. You don't have to start out like I didn't start as an RN, I became an RN. In fact, I went to St. Petersburg College when it was St. Pete Junior College. So I'm very proud of my alma mater. But you can tell, but you don't have to start at the top. You can start at a place that works for you, achieve a goal, and then be able to build upon it. So not everyone comes at it with the same level of confidence or the economic support, and they may not qualify for a grant or for a loan. So they may have other obstacles. So you can step that. And we have that in healthcare. We have that. There are a lot of people that started as a dietary aide. And then they became a nursing assistant, and then they became an LPN, and then they became a registered nurse, or they became a therapist. No, not everyone started as the nursing home administrator or as the director of nursing. Mm-hmm. So there's everywhere is a good starting place. And so it's important for people to realize starting is all that matters.
Yeah.
So you have to know what's available, and then you have to start. If you just wish, then you have a dream. But if you want to succeed, then you have to establish a goal and a benchmark of how you're going to measure that so that you can achieve your dream. But it could take time. I remember in 1984, I became a nursing assistant. In 1985, I became an LPN. In 1992, I became an RN. It took a long time. I had other obstacles. I was married. I had different obligations with my family, et cetera. But I remember my father saying to me one day, I said, "Oh my God, I'll be over 30 when I get my RN." He goes, "Well, you're going to be over 30 anyway." So he goes, "You could be over 30 and be an LPN, and there's nothing the matter with that. It's a good job and you're helping people. Or you could be over 30 and you could be a registered nurse and it would still be a good job and you could be helping people. So what you have to decide is, what do you want to give so that you can get?" And sometimes people just need a little bit of guidance. I was very lucky. I had amazing parents. Unfortunately, I've lost them both, but I had amazing parents. And they told us we could do absolutely anything we wanted. And I feel very grateful that I had the parents I had, because every step of the way, they were always there to support and applaud and celebrate every success. Not that you had to get 100 or you had to get an A or you had to be the highest level, but that you participated.
That's right.
And that's really what I was really thankful for.
Well, we're thankful for you, Robin. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And Michelle, I'm going to give you the last word with this question. So for that second year college student trying to figure out what she wants to do, is, with the forum, we try to use our personal stories to inform, inspire, and motivate. What words of advice would you give that second year college student?
Well, it's a really personal question, because I have a niece who is going into her sophomore year at Florida International down in Miami. And she asks me all the time, and she's nervous about it, right? She feels this pressure that she wants to get it right. So this is what I would say. You can't get it wrong I think Robin gave some very good advice. Mm-hmm. Set some goals, pursue it, whether it's through a college or through, a technical school. Set some goals, build your skills. If you have the opportunity to get out in the workforce and get some experience, I think that's great. Just to expose yourself to different industries. I think be true to yourself. Try to really tap into what your strengths and weaknesses are and what your passions are. Tap into the resources at whatever school you might be going to. There is career counseling, and they do a really good job of helping you identify your strengths. Don't be afraid to tap into those resources and give yourself some grace. I mean, I got a degree in hospitality management, and here I am today. So once you get your foot in the door, whatever avenue you take, take the path Robin set out for you, which is continue to set goals. I never stopped learning when I got to then Florida Power. I never stopped learning. I volunteered, I leaned in, I took classes, I did online classes, I got my master's degree. I never stopped learning. I never stopped asking questions. I asked for opportunities to shadow other departments and open my eyes. So hopefully that's some good advice.
Well, I'll tell you, we never stop learning, and I certainly learned a lot from the two of you. You're inspirational, both of you, and we are better for having you with us today. So I hope that the next time, well, hopefully we'll see each other before then, but I hope we'll definitely see each other at the forum. Robin, you've got to come out and join us. October 27th through the 29th is Florida's Women in Energy Leadership Forum 2021. No surprise, the theme is #resilience, right? All things resilience. Please join me in thanking these two ladies. Thank you for your leadership. Thank you, Duke Energy, for sponsoring today's podcast. And we'll see you next time. Thank you.